Here we go.
You're tuning in to Will Love Listen. Now listen.
Today's a big day. It's an important day because we're talking astrology. And in the past 2 seasons, I've had astrologers on, but I don't think I've been as excited for an astrologer until now. Please welcome Lori Lothian, one of my favorites. I'm so pumped for it today.
I am so glad to be here, Will. I really enjoy your vibe and what you're doing on your podcast, and I'm happy to tell your audience a bit more about astrology.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy that you're joining me today. I discovered you on YouTube a few years ago. And, over time, I started paying attention to your videos more and more and more. And I don't really look at views. It wasn't until recently I looked at views and I'm like, wow, you've amassed such an impressive following online. And there are a plethora of astrologers on YouTube, on TikTok, on social media in general. And I sometimes I get into different ones, but I find your videos and your forecasts to be very accurate. And I feel like if people are followers of like the great Susan Miller, they would really love your work because you're probably the most accurate YouTube astrologer I've come across. So that's one of the reasons I'm really pumped today. And we're recording this the end of January, January 31st to be exact. So I have a lot of questions on the year 2024 and a bit beyond. So yeah, so
Yay. Well, I'm glad that you like my YouTube channel, Lunatic Astrology, but that's also my predictive tendency. I was a psychic reader in my 30s, and I'm fascinated with trying to use astrology or any divination tool to time your best life, and as I always say in my channel, use it as a navigational tool, because if it's not useful, what is it for, right? If you can't use it to predict, watch out for the quicksand to the left and take the clear road to the right, then it's not of much value.
absolutely. And I feel like that's so important. So like, I mean, in my podcast, obviously I typically interview like a celebrity and someone with a strong media following. And then afterwards I recap, and over the years, like people got to know a little bit of my story. So I like got into astrology because like I had a rough life growing up. And I just felt like I was hit with one like bad circumstance after another. And in like, I want to say my early 20s, is when I got into astrology and I started getting into it heavily. And I started learning that if you pay attention to it, you could really time your life so that things work out in your favor. And I think a lot of people are very familiar with astrology on a very basic level. Like they know their sun sign and they think that's the end all be all. But, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, there is a lot more to it. I mean, I was a modern astrologer on and off. I wrote a book for Berkeley, 4 books for Berkeley Publishing in my 29th year that were astrology forecast books you get in a supermarket. So I'm 61. So we're talking about back in the dark ages before massive internet. And yet I want to say something with what you just said. Astrology in the modern era, like the last couple hundred years, was formed in a vacuum of knowledge. And in the 1990s, 3 astrologers who were multilingual, we jokingly called them the 3 Roberts, managed to decide to create a project, Hindsight, that's what they called it, and they interpreted ancient manuscripts in Greek and Latin, and they pulled this lost knowledge that the Greeks had obtained from the Egyptians. And this knowledge has come back to us intact only since the 1990s. So I'm actually a Hellenistic or traditional astrologer using various tools that we've been able to recover, Time Lord tools, things to do with the new whole sign house system, which is traditional, that allows you to make much more accurate prediction. So there's nothing wrong with modern astrology. I don't want to slam it, but it's very psychologically oriented.
Yeah.
Rather than predictive. And it's using a house system that doesn't add value when you're trying to use Time Lord tools, because the Placidus house system in modern astrology will boldly skew your natal chart, your 12 houses of your sky, Because if you're born in the far north or south latitudes, like Alaska or Antarctica, or even just Australia, New Zealand, you're going to find that you're going to have these kinds of intercepted houses where you could have not everyone will have this problem. Your chart was fine from Colombia, but depending, because you're closer to the equator, the further you get from the equator, the more you end up with these really weird skies with, like, say, the whole sign of Pisces wedged in one house and three signs fitting into one house. And I had that problem. I was born in northern Ontario, Canada, where that skew was there. And my chart, even as an astrologer, never had any real predictive value or made sense to me until in 2018, I converted like a religious zealot to whole sign houses. Woohoo! So I've got your chart cast today. We'll talk about you later in whole sign houses. So I'm so excited to share some stuff with you later.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get into that. And we spoke a little bit about some stuff beforehand, and I think people could sort of relate to something that we have coming up. But first, I want to kick off by discussing 2024 because it seems to be a jam-packed year. Now, Jupiter remains in Taurus until May 25th, at which point it will enter Gemini for over a year to stay
Mhm.
from May 25th, 2024 to June 9th, 2025. Um, and then the second half of the year, everything goes retrograde. There's like so much to talk about. So which coming off of that, I want to know, could you give a forecast for each zodiac sign and discuss the good that they have in store, as well as any potential bad that they need to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll keep it brief, otherwise it could take a long time. And as I go into that content for each of the signs, I want people to think about, you can listen for your sun sign, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're really listening for the part of your chart that represents your purpose or career. And often it connects as well to your soul, right? And you can even listen for your moon sign if you're sophisticated enough, and that can be about your home and your nest. But your rising sign, which needs a birth time in order to determine your rising sign, will be the most accurate way to listen to that overview. All right. So you can listen for sun, but your rising sign has a little more value add because it's really like you at the steering wheel of your life. It's really all about you. And your sun can be about your dad or father figures. Your moon can be about your mom and mother figures. So why not focus on you, the rising sign, which is, by the way, since you asked this question, I'm going to address it now. To me, the rising sign is the character we play in the role in the game of life. If this is a video game simulation, that's your avatar. If this is a movie script, that's the character you got cast in. But your sun is your eternal essence. So it's the equivalent to the actress who plays the role, or the actor. It's equivalent to the game player who dons the avatar. So your sun is the deepest essence or your core essential nature, whereas the ascendant degree and sign is the character you're playing. But because our life is to be a character in a game or in a movie or whatever, that will give you more accurate predictive value than, say, your soul, right? The sun in general. And the sun, again, will always align you back with a true sense of why you're even in a body. Like, what's the soul doing on planet Earth? Why did you incarnate? So there's value to see the sun as a soul element as well. That makes sense to you, Will? Did I explain that well?
Yeah, you did. And it actually ties in. Maybe before we do the forecast, it might make sense to start off with this question because
Mm-hmm.
I've of like several astrologers that I interviewed, everyone has a different answer for this, and I feel like it could make people confused. Um, do there's a debate in the astrology community as to which sign is most important, the sun, the rising, or the moon. In your opinion, what order is it and why?
Okay, so to me, it's all, if you want to use astrology for a predictive value and navigating your life, you want to focus on your rising sign. Because as soon as we put the sun and moon in the story, we're pretending that the sun sign and moon sign is the first house, which isn't really true. We're deriving the story as if your sun was in the first house, as if your moon was there. So it's called derived houses. And the second thing is that if you think about it logically, everybody born within 30 days of you is the same sun sign. Everybody born within a 2.5 day range of you is the same moon sign. Somebody needs to be born in the same 2 to 2.5 hour window as you, in the same latitude as you, to have the same rising sign. So it's more specific to your movement into reality as you are born, come out of your mom, and you arrive, not a test tube yet, and you arrive on Earth, and the rising sign delineates the eastern horizon line as it lines up to a sign, one of 12 zodiac signs in the heavens, using the Western tropical zodiac symbolic sky. That's a whole other rabbit hole. And so it's more unique to you, right? It's just more specific to your reality. It's a 2.5 window. It's a 2 to 2.5 hour window of specificity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. The way you explain it does make complete sense because people encounter a ton of people born in the same month as them, like, in my case, March Pisces or even February Pisces. And it's like some of them, like I baited, and we're so different from one another. Like, and it's just because you're the same sun sign doesn't mean you get along. And as far as the moon goes, it's often said that the moon dictates your emotional state, and everyone knows their own internal emotional state. So, due to that, the
Hmm.
sign
Well,
is,
yeah, I want to add something in that case if you brought the moon up. So in another context of the ancient world, the moon rules the sublunar sphere, which is the part of the chart that represents the body, fate, fate and the body, whereas the sun represents the daytime or the solar sphere, which is the spirit that the spirit that plays in matter, the sun, spirit that plays in matter, the moon, the material realm, mother, matter, materia. And therefore, sometimes when you listen for your moon sign, it's best to listen to your moon sign in an astrological forecast for health matters that could affect your body. As well, it's often when you listen for your moon sign really relevant to your home because the moon is the natural ruler of Cancer, the fourth house sign, the fourth house placement with an Aries rising, which is the traditional first sign, right, of the zodiac, the vernal equinox in the spring. And then we have the summer solstice, the which is the part of the chart that represents Cancer, but it also represents home, the nest, the fourth house, the dark midnight, but the root of the chart, where you want to be private, where you want to live, where you want to be safe in the world. Like we're safe at home. And so your moon when you listen for moon, you would be listening for your body or your home, not just how you feel about your life.
that's good to know. That's good
Mhm.
to know. Thanks for clarifying that.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
so you believe rising sign, always read for your rising, and then thereafter the sun and moon equally for different reasons.
Yeah, sun for career and purpose, father figures, and the moon for mother figures, things to do with your home. Often when we have eclipses hitting very delicate parts of our chart, like a conjunction to eclipse to our sun or moon, it's something happening with our mom or dad. It's not often even about us, or it can be a change of purpose or a change of home. Eclipse to the sun, your natal sun, a change of purpose, career. Eclipses to your difficult eclipses, especially squaring your sun or moon, challenges your mom or dad are having, challenges that you are having in your home, moon, or career changes in the sun. So, every part of the chart is not us. The only part of the celestial wheel of our sky, which is 12 houses, 12 zodiac signs, the only part that's uniquely and simply and always only about the character we're playing is the first house, which is where the rising degree and rising sign exists. So, just want to point out that that is about you. Everything else can be about other people, the house of the children, the house of the spouse, the house of the boss, that kind of thing.
That's so good to know. And you explained it very clearly.
I'm
So,
glad. I'm glad it's a crash course in traditional astrology happening here. So how much can I get into this thing? Yeah. So, but your question about sun moon, I don't know if there's a debate in the astrological community, really, not that I've heard of. There may be more of a debate between modern astrologers and traditional astrologers. That's been raging for about 20 years now.
yeah, I think it's true because of like the astrologers I've had on my show, they've said different things. Like one thinks the moon matters more, one thinks the sun. So, there's a little bit of a debate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, an Indian astrologer, a Vedic astrologer will tell you that your moon is just as important as your rising sign. They put a lot of value on the moon as well. Yeah.
So that's good to know. And I like the way you broke it down. It was very concise.
Oh, good.
Um, and then one thing I do also want to clear up before we get into some of the other questions is another thing that there's a debate on is stelliums. Now,
Mhm.
do you define a couple brief questions about this? One, do you define a stellium as having three or more planets in a sign?
Yes, I
And
do. Three or more.
And in that case, do you only consider it a stellium if the planets are within tight degrees of one another, such as 10 degrees or less, or no?
No, because I take the ancient approach. And the ancient approach is there's such a thing as an aspectual relationship. So things are connected really close together, like you said, touching each other by close degree in a stellium, which is a conjunction, or, in any kind of aspect, a square or trine. In the ancient tradition, there's two types of those connections. There's the whole sign square, the whole sign conjunction, meaning that everything is still in one place. Like everything in the sign of Aries in somebody's natal chart is always going to square everything in the Capricorn and the Cancer part of the chart. Square means 90 degrees away. And basically, it doesn't have to be a perfect aspectual relationship. The closer it is by degree to that 90-degree square, the more important and powerful it is. But just having planets in your first house and planets in planets in Aries and planets in Cancer, that's 9 degrees away from each other. Those are in a broad whole sign square to each other. And therefore, a stellium can be loosey-goosey, 0 degrees, 15 degrees, and 28 degrees in Aries. And that to me is a stellium. It's just they're all in the same sign together, 3 or more planets.
And then finally, in regards to that question, and I don't believe this at all, someone had mentioned this, and I feel like it's a little bit disinformation. Um, there's a certain astrologer or maybe astrologers that believe that Jupiter onward do not count towards a stellium because they're too far away to impact you significantly. I
Hmm.
don't believe that, but could you address that?
Well, here's what I'd say. Because I use traditional astrology and the outer planets don't have time lords, because we don't use Neptune for Pisces, Saturn is a ruler of Aquarius, not Uranus. Jupiter is a ruler of Pisces, not Neptune, etc. Pluto's not the ruler of Scorpio, it's Mars. And there's a good reason for that, because you can make predictive tool timing thingies with the correct rulerships that the ancients assigned. That if I see Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus in a part of a chart to make it a part of a stellium, I would like to see the inner planets there. If I just saw the 3 outer planets in somebody's sky in one sign, which is really rare, I don't think anybody in our living, breathing time has had those 3 planets together. But if they were, I wouldn't call that a stellium. I would like to see the Neptune, Uranus, Pluto combination joining 3 intimate planets, right? The inner planets, Saturn and under, including the sun and the moon, for me to call that placement a stellium.
Okay.
You have to understand that outer planets are also generational, right? Everybody born within 2 weeks of you has Pluto in the same degree as you, like seriously. And so a whole generation is born with Pluto in Leo, the boomers, for instance. A whole generation is born after them with Pluto in Virgo, and another generation, Pluto in Libra. And it literally is like the boomers and then the Xers and then millennials, it goes down and down. And so it's not so personal to you. It's a real big force of macro or generational impulses, but you're a part of that impulse. So a stellium of outer planets is rare. You might have 2. Like we had a conjunction of Uranus and Neptune not that long ago, but in our lifetimes. But the whole idea here is that you cannot derive Time Lord tools from them. And that's another deep dive. Time Lords allow you to know which planet is most important to look at in any given age. And so you may as well just say they weight a natural stellium. Let's say planets, Mercury to Saturn, there's 5 planets. And then there's the sun and moon, which we call the luminaries. And if you have a stellium with those characters there, 3 or more in a sign, and one of the outer planets chimes in, yeah, of course, it adds more weight, but it's not a stellium in my mind without those more intimate solar system planets, closer to Earth. Saturn is the boundary line between the transpersonal and the personal, between the material realm and the matrix, and then outside the matrix. So you may as well say everything outside of Saturn is Neo getting unplugged from the matrix. And so those transpersonal, transcendent outer planets, well, important, are not your personal life in the character view on Earth.
So say if someone has like the same, say if someone had, for example, like a Gemini moon, a Gemini Mars, and a Gemini Jupiter, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's a stellium because it's a mix of intimate and outer.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a classic stellium. I've noticed three planets work. I heard some astrologers prefer four. For me, when I'm looking at clients' charts, if I see three planets in a sign and I tell them this is a weighted area of your chart, it usually is true. And when you add minor asteroids in like Ceres or Juno, or not even that minor anymore, then you can still have a stellium with the asteroids involved as well, not just the planets. But certainly the outer planets, the asteroids are part of the inner part of our solar system between Mars and Jupiter. So they are intimate to us, but the outer planets I would not include, or the trans-Neptunian objects as well. So,
Good to know. Thanks for clearing that up as well, because that's another another controversial subject, because some people think this, some people think that, and then it just creates confusion for people who are trying to learn more about astrology. So
mhm.
I'm glad we addressed that. Now, to go back to my original question, 2024 is a jam-packed year. You got Jupiter changing signs, you got the second half of the year, almost everything goes retrograde. Saturn remains in Pisces, Pluto just entered Aquarius. A lot going on this year. Can you give a forecast for each zodiac sign?
Absolutely. And I want to say one thing as I go ahead and give a mini, well, this is what you need to pay attention to, because every single zodiac sign has what we call a ruling planet or the domicile of the Lord of the sign. We're going to, I weight that according to your ruling planet. So as I say this, I'll be talking about what your ruling planet is doing, because that ruling planet of your sign is one of the most important parts of what you need to watch for in any given moment of time, because whatever that planet's doing, it's important to you. Now, I will say this. I can't go through every single thing or we'll be here all day. But I do have a video on my YouTube channel that people can go grab. It's called The Top 3 Transits for Your Sign of 2024. And that might also add more to what I'd add today. So, okay, are you ready? Should I go rolling through the signs?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're a Sag rising, right? So let our audience remind them of that. And I happen to be Aquarius rising, but I have a sun in Aries. So every time I do Aries, I'm all like, yay, let's talk about this, you know? All right, so let's start with you, Aries folks. So Aries, you know what? You are ruled by Mars, right? He's your lord of your sky, or we call him the Lugna lord for your rising sign, but he's the lord of your sun, the lord of your moon in Aries, depending what you're listing for today. And what he does in the sky is extraordinarily critical to you. And the most important thing he's doing in 2024 is a very rare heliacal rise in the sign of Capricorn. We have not seen Mars rise to the visible eye in the early morning hours, called the heliacal rise, after being invisible behind and in the beams of the sun for an entirety of 4 months. He was invisible. So that's a hack for you, Aries. For 4 months, every 2 years, Mars is invisible. Do not do anything important that matters to you, because you're the lord of your sign is off duty, out to lunch. But bottom line is that he rises in Capricorn, and he last did that in 1977 January, and he's doing it again January 27th of 2024. And what this indicates for you, Aries, is a 2-year window of great success in your career. Get ready to really rock it. Maybe you were alive in 77 to 1979. Maybe you can remember what happened then. If you were young, a high school student, did you excel in school? Did you excel in something important to what you thought mattered in terms of achievement, recognition, ambition, and success? So this 2 years allows you to do that kind of story, but because Mars is also the god of cutting and ending and separating, you may quit a job may quit you, a career path may radically cut away for something new to emerge, but he's rising and in a sign of his exaltation. Think of him like Superman, okay? Or Wonder Woman. There's a rising quality and a superpowered condition, which does bring great success. So you can see that opening up for you. And I will add one more detail, likely great financial success in your long range money as well, because of Mercury dying in the heart. Mars dying in the heart of the sun in Scorpio in your 8th house back in November of 23. So the two stories are 2 years of greater long range money, investments, 401k, savings, shared money with a spouse or business partner, inheritances even can be a big part of your story, but mostly also you're seeing an incredible uplift in your visible reputation and career and the success that you derive from that. Now I'm going to do the next sign, but I want to ask Will, did you want me to go longer for each sign and add a second piece, or is that about the right amount?
That's good. You could add more detail, because I think the people will want
Okay.
to.
Yeah, well then I'll add one more thing. With the very, very rare conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus in the sign of Taurus, not seen since the 1941 timeframe. This conjunction is opening up 14 years of financial change, but good change in your earnings house. So again, we see more indications of financial success. And this change is not just happening on the day of this rare conjunction in Taurus. Jupiter and Uranus are like surprise bounty or radical rags to riches or something like that. We're not just seeing it on April the 21st when it occurs. That is when it occurs, and you may have a boost in your earnings or finances at that time, April, May, basically late April into early May, but it really sets in motion another big cycle for you that lasts more than that. It's 14 years. And so which way we spin it, if you're an Aries who's been worrying about your paycheck, your money, your savings, if you felt like money and you weren't getting along, and it's been like, making you feel bummed out about life. Even if you've been successful, you'd be more. If you've been having trouble with success, you're going to come into a very lovely 2-year and longer, even 14-year window of incredible financial career uplift. Is that enough of a content for each sign?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay, great. Because we want to talk about your chart because we want to teach people a lesson, remember?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. All right, so Tauruses who are rising Taurus, but you can listen for Sun and Moon, as we explained earlier. By far, the most important event is indeed that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that I just mentioned for April 21st. It's going to be happening in the sign of you, where your sun sits in Taurus, your moon, or your rising degree, especially if your rising degree is close to 21 degrees or so, that's going to really be intense energy around your Taurus energy field. But it doesn't matter. All Tauruses, no matter what degree of rising sun or moon, are going to feel it. And it really opens you up to a huge expansion in your identity in 2024 and even onward. It's almost like, I used to be in the choir and I'm a terrible singer, but the choir leader would hit that pitch pipe and go peep peep, and we're all supposed to somehow be on key. Good luck for me. And that's like the keynote pitch pipe thing that sets in motion in April into early May, how you are going to be in a state of expansion, growth. And it's not just in the outer world, it's how you perceive yourself. Like you are becoming larger than life in your own mind and maybe in the world, right? You're baking in a Jupiter expansion of identity. And things like hope, faith, generosity, being magnanimous, being lucky are things that you're going to be able to know is true for you. Unexpected and dramatic luck, indeed, starting April 21st into early May. So there may be an episode of something exciting happening then, but then it can also ripple through the next 14 years of your life, because that area is a hot spot. You are lucky. You are big faith, hope, optimism, ho, 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 Jupiter. And if you ever wanted to be a leader in something, to take leadership roles or teaching roles, those roles become very open for you in the 14 years that follow this April. And indeed, if you find something opening up like a teaching or leading role in April, May, of course, you'll take it because it's exactly what the sky's ordering on your menu. And you're going to say, that's a great thing. I'll try that leadership role. It's kind of good for your health as well for the next 14 years. Just knowing that Jupiter kind of bakes in a stamp of approval in the house of your physical form, the first house, makes you, or your sun, your vitality, and your moon, your home. You have good luck in home, career, vitality, sun, and body and self over the next 14 years. I know a few Tauruses who are going to be happy about that.
Wow.
Another element, another other element I'd say for you, Venus is the ruler of your sign, and she does it a beautiful Venus star point coming up in the month of June. It's going to be around June the 3rd, and means she's going to go into the heart of the sun at around, I can't remember the degree offhand. I think it's 17 degrees of Gemini, but the degree is not as important as understanding you have a whole sign house system. I prefer you all listen to me about that. I should have said that well up front. I'm delineating using the whole sign house system the ancients used, and the Placidus house system will not overlap with what I'm saying. And if you don't even know what house systems are, just listen to what I'm saying. So with Venus, the goddess of love, Venus, the goddess of fairness and beauty and money, coming into the heart of the sun in your earnings house on June the 3rd. She sets in motion a 10-month window of financial uplift for you. Wherever Venus goes, especially in a second house, because she is a goddess of finance and money in a money house, earnings house, you're going to uplift your finances. And she can also really spill that luck or goodness out for 4 years. So it's not just the first 10 months, it can go 4 years, all of 4 years. And Venus is resetting in the sun. So she's rebooting herself from, an older version of herself to a new version, like a software upgrade. And so Venus is doing a software upgrade in your house of earnings. And that can mean there's going to be a significant change in the way you make your money. And you'll see that unfolding in a positive and uplifting way, especially with Pluto in your 10th house, giving you more career power and Venus giving you more earnings power. A lot of you with Pluto in your whole sign Aquarius 10th house, Venus rebooting you in your second house, are going to see a lovely 2024 into 2025, really beautiful cash flow, earnings flow, maybe getting your most favorite job, applying for a job and can't believe you got the dream job. If you're in an existing job or career, getting raises and promotions. Already? Sound good?
That's great. My mother's a Taurus. I know Tauruses, so I'm happy for them.
And I am giving you guys the easy stories. There are some more gnarly ones. For every sign, there's something gnarly, but like, why not focus on the positive in a world that's gone to hell in a handbasket?
I know.
So,
Yeah, tell me about it.
yeah. Okay. So then Geminis. Okay, so Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. Your ruler is Mercury. Just to remind you, everybody gets a ruling planet, and yours happens to be Mercury. So we'll talk a Mercury story here. But before I talk a Mercury story, I think one of the things I want to mention that's not a Mercury story for you is going to be this kind of intense but powerful Pluto transit through your 9th house. It started on January 20th. It runs the whole year, minus a hiatus or a break from Pluto, September 1st to November 19th. And it's really the beginning of a new 20-year power up for you. Because you see, with Pluto in the 9th house in Aquarius for you, the whole sign 9th house, he flows to your body, he flows to your identity in what's called a trine. It's called an air trine, and it makes you particularly more powerful and more potentially wealthy, because one of the meanings of that place he's traveling is wealth and luck. Now, because he's also traveling in a deep house of soul energy, like what's the meaning of your life, you may end up finding that the feeling of 24 is going to make you a lot more serious about doing something in this world that has meaning to you. Like if something is meaningless, like you're working in a factory and you hate it and it feels meaningless, or you're so tired of the latte Starbucks venti job you've got, you may find yourself really wanting to find true purpose in 24. And particularly in 2024, because not only is it a new energy and you're feeling it for the first time, a little bit last year, but for the first time in our lives, right? You have to go back to the 1800s, the last time this was here, is that Venus is blessing your identity this year. So Venus star points in Gemini, your sign. You got this, that's in June. I mentioned it for the prior sign. That's in June. That means you're going to be more lucky personally for 10 months that follow, more healthy, perhaps, more persuasive and popular, charismatic and charming. You got more beauty than you normally do, but a beauty also in your ideas, a beauty in your communication and how sociable you are. And that prevails June all the way through to the spring of 25. Well, at the same time, Pluto is giving you this new level of deep meaning and power. So I think you're going to find the meaning of life easier this year and next year, indeed, as well as a sense of wholeness and enjoyment of being in your own skin, really liking yourself. Self-love is really rooting for you, and self-care. And then a little teaser about one thing, because Gemini, you are a Mercury ruled being, and Mercury is doing a very powerful thing we haven't seen since 2017. And he's going to predominate or spend about 6 months in fire signs. And your fire signs are all about relationship in your chart. They belong to the houses 11, 3, and 7. And fire is new beginnings, initiative, daring, bravery, chutzpah. and you're going to have a lot of chutzpah around new social groups and networks and friendships, maybe engaging in new longer term committed business and love partnerships, and taking the bull by the horns for travel or getting something going in the online world or the writing space in your life that you think is brave, bold, and daring and takes a lot of courage and spark. And you'll have that spark and courage, especially around writing projects, but also around forming entire new groups of friends, entire new relationships, serving new customers and clients that are completely different from your ordinary ones. And this is a whole new love up for you in terms of 2017, you're going to go back and see how it felt, but it's back again. Alrighty. So we're moving into
And
our, what was that, love?
oh wait, I thought you were asking me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you have any thoughts about that? Do you have friends who are in that space?
Um, well, it's so funny. So I have a Gemini stellium. My moon's in Gemini. My Jupiter is in Gemini at 0 degrees, and
Mm,
my Mars is in Gemini. And all of them are early degrees. I think Jupiter is 0, Mars is 1, and Moon is 6. So
mhm.
having so much Gemini energy, I'm very happy about that. Um, yeah, I'm happy about
Yeah.
that because I want like I feel like I'm in a cleansing period, in a nutshell, to describe my life right now, and I'm ready right now for new friends. I'm single, which, but I'm ready for a quality relationship. So I'm ready for like a lot of new to come into my life, and
Mm.
yeah, so that makes me happy.
Oh,
Um,
I love that. Yeah, you have your moon at 6 degrees of Gemini, so that would be a very interesting, and Mars and Jupiter as well. Um, you have a lot of energy here for a huge transformation then with that moon, right? Especially. So, the moon will pick up a lot of what Venus is doing. So yay, you. I love that. And oh, your relationship stuff. Well, we can talk about your chart later. I can tell you about that if you like. I don't know how public you want to be with that. So yeah, you do have that Gemini moon. Thanks for reminding me of that Pisces sun. Hmm.
yeah, my brother, I mean, me and my brother don't exactly get along, but I want the best for him. And he went through a breakup with someone who he started dating in 2017 in August. So, I'm hoping, and he's going through his own transitional period right now. So I'm hoping that with all of this happening and him being a Gemini sun, it'll make his life better as well.
I will, but with that moon in your whole sign seventh house of significant love relationships, you always have to be careful. I mean, it's like when someone has a sun or moon in the seventh house of significant long-term committed love, it's a challenge in many different ways. So one of the ways is that the sun can create a quality of you orbiting the person and being second fiddle, like where their needs take precedence and you put them on a pedestal. But then the moon can mean that there's a problem in the nurturance qualities of relationships where you either over nurture your partner at the expense of your own nurturance and emotions, or sometimes you'll find that they're playing out the role of your mommy dearest, either the best or the worst, like because the moon is the mother in the house of significant love. So I always tell clients with the moon sun in the seventh house, deal up your fathership before you get married if you can, and the moon in your seventh house, deal up your mothership before you get married if you can, because those planets represent those people. And so you don't want to overlay. So I married a guy with the moon in the seventh, and the whole relationship, I was his mummy dearest. Okay. Like I was Joan Crawford. So you got to be really careful with that placement for you, right? But we have Venus blessing you next year in your marriage house with a June reset. So that could really start, and Jupiter going through your a significant love relationship house. And both of those combinations look like probably you're going to get into a new major relationship after this midsummer of this year, 2024.
Oh, after the midsummer of this year. Oh,
Well, you want Jupiter to get into Gemini before you start a major relationship, which is going to be the 25th or 6th of May.
that's so good to know. And it's so funny what you said because my three long-term relationships, all that was true. I felt like my needs were second, and I felt like it was all about the other party. And I felt like it was all about me nurturing them, but feeling empty. Um, but yet finding it difficult to pull away at the same time for guilt and other shit. So, but I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson. That's why I've cleaned house in the relationship zone, the friendship zone, and I'm ready for something real and genuine and quality.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah. And it also, there's nothing wrong with those relationships. I always say, we do all this kind of like karmic house cleaning, and then the person we're for comes along. So it's not like, no foul there, right? You had to learn those lessons anyway.
Yeah, Yeah, rough, but I learned.
Yeah, I don't think astrology can stop people from their lessons. You know what I mean? I don't think I could look at your chart and say, don't have a relationship with person one, two, and three, because you need to go through that in order to have the major fourth person for you. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're going to move into Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. And so Cancer, you're ruled by the moon. And the moon, of course, as we know, is a fast moving body. It moves through a sign every 2.5 days. So I want you to understand that you are like going to find your life is very fluid, which is a very, very beautiful aspect of your reality. But because the moon is the intimate ruler of your sign, anything that the moon does is important, like, new moon, full moon, and all of that. Like an easy hack for your life is to track lunar cycles and really be intimate with them and see how you feel under them. But also, the moon is always involved in eclipses, a new moon eclipse or a full moon eclipse. The full moon is the sun is, the shadow, the shadow of the earth is eclipsing the moon, and a new moon is that the sun and moon are conjunct. And you're literally a solar eclipse is a new moon. And so you're very run on the fuel of eclipses. That's what drives your car, right? Your car of life is the eclipse cycle. Same, we'll get to the next sign for that too. And so I'm going to talk about the eclipses. You, of all signs, need to watch for these eclipses through the Aries and Libra part of the sky because it is rocking your life in 2024. It already started to do that about July of 2023. It winds down in January of 2025 into the spring. So it makes 24 like the epicenter of change. And because the eclipses are happening in the 10th house, which is your career, and in the whole sign 4th house, which is your home, and they're squaring you and squaring the 7th house of your marriage partners, which is Capricorn, this can change everything. Change of home, change of marriage type partner, change of business partners, change of career path, change of identity, your sense of self. And eclipses don't have a steering wheel. If you've ever been on a ride at the fair and you kind of wanted to imagine you had one, the only thing I can think of is bumper cars. The rest of the rides are steerless. So you're on a steerless ride of destiny that is changing those areas of your life that I mentioned to you. And there's different intensities of eclipses depending on the degree of your sun or your moon or your rising degree in the sign of Cancer. So I'll mention the most important eclipse of this year, which is by far the most intense eclipse in a long while. It's a total solar eclipse, 100% eclipse of the sun happening April the 8th at 19 degrees of Aries. Therefore, you guys listening who are within, let's give it a nice 5-degree range, within 5 degrees of 19 Cancer for your sun degree, moon degree, or rising degree on either side of 19. I cannot do math in my brain, but I think it's 14 degrees to 24 degrees of Cancer. You are the ones leading for all Cancers a massive wave of change. It is an eclipse in the career house, and that can eclipse a job, eclipse in a career path. It can eclipse away somebody in the workspace or career space, like your boss gets fired or quits, and that could be good for you because you could rise up to another level of power. But it's definitely a huge energy because of its totality, and it will give you that impact over the course of a minimum of 12 months. So don't expect April 8th for your whole life to change, but I would recommend you journal on the 8th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, certain phone calls, emails, events, dreams, what comes through the portal of a massive change eclipse for you, and see what you're picking up, because some of the things that occur in those days around the eclipse can be really indicative of the long range story. So it's a humdinger for you guys.
Well, they're in for a lot of change, it sounds like.
Yeah, I know. And I'm already thinking about my Cancer rising sister, who works for me as one of my staff members. And I'm like, oh no, man, she better not quit her job. But I
Yeah.
think she's gonna quit her job. So okay. And then the second thing I'd say for you guys, just to ponder, there's so many beautiful things going on in the sky. Mars rising in your 7th house, because Mars rising, rare event across the way from you in your marriage house, but also in the house where you have an audience or a public or a marketplace. Also the 7th house of where you have legal contracts and also where you may partner in business with others. That house, 7th house, across the way, 180 degrees away from your Cancer placement, it is going to be experiencing a huge amount of change as well. You add the eclipses, squaring it, as more importantly, doubling down on the same story. Mars is rising here, last done in 1977 through to 79. You had a 2-year change window in the space that we would consider your career, your marriage stories, and seventh house matters, partnerships and love and commitment, and it's back. And I want to say one of two things. If you're in a difficult relationship already and Mars is rising in your seventh, it will potentially cut it off, because Mars is got the sword, the scissors, and the scalpel in his hand. And if it needs to end, it will end. If you're single, it can bring a very powerful, passionate, and exalted relationship into your life in the 2 years that follow this Mars rising that started in January of 24. And it possibly brings you a lot more contact with powerful male figures, masculine energy anyway. But, today it's hard to define with the gender fluidity, but, Mars is the masculine energy, Venus is the feminine. So powerful, masculine driven people who have super powered energy to come into your life, whether they're, clients, pivotal, figures for you. That energy is coming at you, and it's for your benefit because Mars is rising, so it serves you. And because those people come in with all that power and Mars rules your career space, it will increase your career success by virtue of those partners, those allies, whatever those people are coming your way over the next couple of years. So you're not attracting wallflowers and wimps, you're attracting super powered masculine characters, whether they're in a female form or a biological male form. All righty. We're going to move into Leos. All right, Leo, a sun, moon, and rise. You're just like the Cancer people. Your ruler is the sun, and therefore the sun is involved in every single eclipse. Whether, it's a new moon or full moon, it's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse, you can't do it without the sun. And therefore, you, like the Cancer folk, are ruled by that energy of eclipses as well. They dominate the changes of your life. And so for you, those eclipses of 2024 must be noted and paid attention to. Now, one thing I want to say is they favor you. Well, I made it sound a little bit horrific for the Cancer people because it's more intense. The eclipses from both the sign of Aries and the sign of Libra are in what we call a flow relationship to you, of a trine and a sextile. And then it's like being on a midway ride without a steering wheel and having the time of your life. Whereas the poor Cancers are clutching white-knuckled, you're like, wee, this is fun. So the changes are very interesting for you. This eclipse cycle just in general in 24, because it started last year, but it's really rocking it in 2024. With eclipses in April, eclipses in October. This eclipse cycle, March, April, and then October. These eclipses are trying to make the changes in the following areas. You might want to make a change in your sibling relationships with younger siblings or extended family like cousins, or even a change of your neighborhood involving a move. You almost might change your relationship with existing neighbors in a way that is important and you need to rectify a problem there. You can also make changes in your online world. If you're one of those people, social media, you might quit a social media platform, move away from that kind of thing, redefine your exposure online. Those are third house matters. And you may also travel less. If you've been commuting to work or you've been having to travel for your life for some reason, travel will wane. You'll let go of travel. You'll travel a lot less. And not to worry you, but this eclipse cycle can bring problems for a younger sibling. So that might not even be about you. They're going through a challenge in their life and you can help them out. Younger siblings. And then the other energy is that the eclipses expand into your ninth house of God. And that means that you can be very successful in book publishing, foreign land travel and visas, winning in court matters or expanding your success in court matters, maybe having a lot of focus on your spirituality and your faith and what religion you might want to follow. And also really pulling you into the ninth house means you're pulling into a part of the chart that activates your humanitarian instinct. You might want to start working for an NGO or helping out in a soup kitchen or something like that. And finally, it's really what is the meaning of your life. And the North Node with Chiron up there, yikes, that's going to be a Chiron conjunction in your house of meaning, the meaning of your life, February the 19th. And the energy there says it's time to turn a wound around, about feeling maybe you'd lost touch with the meaning of your life, the purpose of your life. And you may be healing that this year in 2024 as well. And that feeling like you've lost touch with the meaning of your life may have begun to appear for you in 2019. And now you'll be beginning to heal that in 2024 after February the 19th. Now, that's the eclipse story for you. And the April 8th eclipse is going to really be important for those themes. If your Leo sun, moon, and rising is anywhere 5 degrees on either side of 19 degrees, but all Leo risings feel it. It's just the more intensely close you are in a Leo placement to 19 degrees, the more powerfully, positively you feel this energy. And then we also could say you might travel abroad in 2024 and really enjoy that foreign shore travel. And I think the next most important thing, because there's just so much going on in the sky, it's almost hard to choose, is that if you've been having challenges to your health at all, or you want to fix a problem to your health, if it involves a surgical procedure, the whole energy of Mars rising in the sixth house of sickness in his joy, a very powerful place for him. He's very powerful here, allows you to get that knee replacement, get that hip replacement, get that, broken shoulder thing fixed. If it involves penetration, like a surgical device or a laser or something. And you're also able to work really hard and passionately at anything that's meaningful to you in 2024 and have exceptional success in your work as Mars rises in your sixth house and gives you 2 years, all 24, all 25, work, power, drive, passion, but success. And with Jupiter here, the lot of the best success you're going to experience is between this January and bottom line the third week of May. So it's a good time to quit a job you hate to find a better one. It's a great time to look for a raise or promotion, or tackle, like, with seize the day energy, right? Your desire to be a winner in your work and career space. And that's a huge story for you, that unless you can remember 1977, 78, you haven't really gone through this as an adult for many of our listeners. All righty. We're moving into the Virgo folk.
Yes.
Now that's my daughter, and she doesn't work for me, but I might hire her. The whole family's Team Lori. Okay, so Virgo, you're ruled by Mercury. And so let's just start with the simple bit. This is a rare, not seen since 1977, 2024 year in which Mercury's giving you oomph and a huge amount of impetus around the following matters. These are your 12th, 4th, and 8th house that are ruled by fire. You can have unexpected money come to you from inheritances, from royalty income, from tax rebates, from your spousal money, shared monies, like your spouse is doing well, and your joint finances uplift. So you're going to increase your non-earned income. This is not your paycheck. This is those other chunky monies, I call them eighth house monies. Those are going to be on the menu for you, especially in the month of April. And then also you're up leveling in fire when it comes to the opportunity for a new home, or changing your home, renovating your home, or moving to a new home, or negotiating a deal to buy or sell or rent a new home. Those are amazing for you. That home rental move thing is more true in the fall, in the month of November. And then also, I'm a little out of order, but in August, with the Mercury, like Mercury as a Mercury fire year, with Mercury spending a long time in your Leo 12th house, it really could open you up to some deeper spiritual impulses, or the ability to dump an addiction. Like if you've been like really beleaguered by your vape or something, like my daughter, her nicotine vape, or anything that holds you back in life, and you're not doing the best for your body, for yourself, it's self-sabotage basically, right? The patterns of psychology and mental emotional patterns and physical dependency to addictive substances can be really cleared out for you this year, especially in the month of August. So these are breakthrough energies because Mercury is ruling those parts of your chart for a long time, April, August, and November, but it bleeds out almost over 2 months around those times. So it's time to get like powered up in a way that Mercury hasn't given you these blessings since 2017. I think my daughter went into a vegan lifestyle at that age, that time. That makes sense. And her skin cleared, right? So you can do things like completely change, those things in your life that that may impede your better well-being and health. The other thing I think that is critical here, because again, it's always hard to choose. You're in a time, if you want to get into a love story, a romantic love story as a single person, Now, if you're with someone already, it can turbocharge your sex life. All of a sudden, your romance sparks again, and all the doldrums leave, and you fall back in love. That could happen. That's Mars rising in your fifth house of sexual and romantic love. At the same time, if you're already by yourself, especially because in 2024, in the month of February, Venus and Mars join in a conjunction. And that says that you could have the love of a lifetime come to you for you single Virgos in 2024. It's a combination of Mars rising here and then fusing with the goddess Venus. This is like super hot, super amazing. And if you meet somebody in 24, if you meet somebody in February, that's amazing. But if you meet somebody in 2024, end of story. I feel that this is going to be a love of a life, a big love. A big love is basically the name, I'd say. And possibly because of this energy being so intensely beautiful, you see, all Virgos have a very pragmatic and loyal and serious approach to romance. You guys don't do, most of you Virgo risings especially, you do not do hookups on Tinder. You're looking for your person. And if you've been like tired of looking, you'll find, I think a lot of you will find that person. This is not your chart. This is general, of course, but a lot of you will find that person you thought you'd never find this year. And it's really lovely. And you're more likely to find that person, just a little tip, right? Either before the end of May this year, if you're single, or you might have to wait until 2025. But I'm just giving you overviews. And lastly, it may not be the best time if you are looking to conceive a child, okay? Because with Mars rising here, he's the antidote to having a baby, right? So he rules the termination of a pregnancy. So if you're not wanting a child, be careful. That's all, because you may not keep a child if you were an egg bearer who got pregnant, you may not want to keep that child. And if you're a man with an egg bearer, you might not want to keep that child. So bottom line, you must be careful around contraception in 2024 into 2025. All right. Do you know any people who are Virgos, Will, that you're going to tell them to use like 3 forms of contraception?
It's so funny. So a good friend of mine, I mean, he moved to Massachusetts. He's a Virgo. And he's been dating someone since I think 2016, 2017, but now they're going through a really rough patch.
Hmm.
They may or may not break up. So it has me thinking, well, maybe he should break up now because it seems like he has good prospects coming in. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear you. I know some Virgos in the same boat, and it's partly because Saturn is moving through the Virgo's house of long-term love from last March until February 2026. And I always say that's like the home inspector checking to see if there's a crack in the foundation, or the car inspector looking to see if the engine block is cracked. Because if you have those conditions, it's a no, it's like you don't fix a cracked engine block. You total the car, it's done. So there's a kind of Saturnian housekeeping seal of approval for every Virgo who's in an existing relationship. And the only way they're going to get through that transit is they're going to have to get very serious about working on the relationship. And if they don't do that, that relationship might not stand the test of time, which is Saturn's wheelhouse. So yeah, a lot of Virgos are under a lot of duress in that way right now. And it's about the romance too, right? The sizzle. Like Mars rising and Venus here, it's looking for that feeling of falling in love, of being enchanted, of being swept off your feet. And so unfortunately, that's not common. And now it's possible in the next 2 years for a lot of Virgos that they can find that. And it can be sustainable, not just a short-term thing.
Good to know.
Yeah. So let's move into the Libra story.
Yes. That's
So all you Librans out there, sun, moon, and rising sign, ever looking for balance between your work and life, home life, and always trying to keep the peace. Well, now let's talk about what's going on here. You're ruled by Venus. She's the boss of you. And every time Venus goes into the heart of the sun, it's important for you to take note. But in 2024, as Venus goes into the heart of the sun in Gemini in your ninth house, she has not done that since 4 years back. This is opening up a opening that starts June the 3rd and lasts for about 10 months in its most intense form. It's like she's having a baby, and the baby is ninth house babies. It's about luck and sometimes prosperity, better outcomes coming to you regarding academic environments, book publishing environments, foreign land and foreign shores and visas, winning in court matters. These areas become extraordinarily positive. If you have been married twice or in long-term committed cohabitation relationships, as if you're married, like common law, then this is the house of a third marriage. And so if you are looking for your third long-term person, Venus star pointing at your ninth house, flowing to your identity from Gemini, can bring it this year. So looking for that opportunity for a long-term love for some of you, if it's your third major one, is possible between June and add, 10 months. And if you always had a book in you and you wanted to write it, if you always had some kind of publication thing you wanted to put into the world, if you've always wanted to go to school, back to school, or apply for your favorite university, if you always wanted to travel abroad and you haven't done it, it means that June of this year, add 10 months is your window of yes, 2 thumbs up. So skill neighbor are on your side. You're going to flow with it. It's going to go well. And, and if you have to go to court, who wants to go to court? But if you have to take something to court, you're going to succeed. In that 10-month window, Venus has given you a blessing. Now, the other part of the story here might be finding your faith, right? Because the churches and religions are in the ninth house. Spiritual belief is in the ninth house. Venus could open up a very feminine belief structure, or you could find a spiritual teacher who's a woman, that kind of thing in the 9 months that follow this star point. And what else is going on for you guys? Well, I have to say, I think you guys are looking, many of you, at some significant change in your home, because Mars rising in the fourth house is going to either have you do a construction renovation in your home, fight and argue in your home with the people you live with, or change your home, cut your home, end your home, sever your home, move to a new home. And so for Libras, this energy of Mars rising in January 27th of 2023 indicates all through 24 and all through 2025, like until the fall of 25, a very strong indication of change in your home space. And he's exalted, so he's strong and powerful. It doesn't matter if you buy a home or rent a home or sell a home, all of those things are true. Particularly with the placement of Saturn in the house of rental. So at this time in your sky. So you're looking at that as being a huge story for you. And yet you're looking for the idea of the change involving themes of a place that's more beautiful, a place that's more refined, a home that's more peaceful. But to get to that, you might be going through difficulty in the home. So I would say if you're living with somebody in your home, like some of us have to live with roommates or live with friends or live with, love partners or your children, you may find that your home becomes a bit of a battleground. So be watchful of that, but maybe that it's the friction and the discontent in your home that will propel the need for a new home. Like maybe your home's too small for like all the people who are living there. It's time to upgrade. So know that the home change will benefit you, but the fighting may be the grist for the mill of why you make a change. So watch for that. Contentious attitudes in the domestic environment. You may not be the one creating it. Could be someone you're living with. So that is going to be something to watch for in 24 into 2025. Okay. And let's take a look at score. Am I taking too long? I'm on a good pace, Will.
No, I think you're good. I think it's detailed and everyone's going to enjoy
Oh,
it.
good. Good. I'd rather give people useful material than talk about my navel. So let's do that. Scorpio rising, sun and moon. Mars is the lord of your sign. We're back to looking at Mars like Aries rising and sun and moon as the most key planet. We've been talking about his heliacal rise, and that is important for you because it's going to make major changes in your relationship to your neighbors and neighborhood, siblings, especially younger siblings, big changes in your connection to the online world. If you're in the online world already, it's going to bring you a huge amount of social media success. And if you're not, then you might go there for the first time. And so Mars is rising in your whole sign third house. This is also going to make changes in terms of things you do with travel, especially if you have a job that requires commuting, that's probably going to change. And if you need a new car, Mars is the guy who is Mr. Train, Plane, and Automobile, and he rises here. And if you've always had like a desire for a new car, or even for the first time a car, this is your 2-year window of YAU from January 23 to to the late fall of 2025. This indicates this is an area of success for you. And if you need to end something, like cut off the neighborhood, the neighbor, or that sibling because it's just toxic for you, if that's something that's needed, then you will change your neighborhood, block the neighbor from your view, or tell your sibling to no stop bothering you. Those things could happen here as well. So big changes there. If you're a writer and you want to write something, this gives you the passion, drive, and ambition to do the writing you need to do over the next 2 years. That will be even songwriting and writing, any kind of composing of any kinds of words, whether they're lyrics or screenplays. It doesn't matter. Writing becomes quite successful for you in the next 2 years. The other thing I guess I would say here, because there's a lot to land on. The eclipses, maybe because the eclipses are moving through Aries, which is your work. And you're trying to heal something here in 2024 that started in 2019, of feeling wounded in your work. I'm not in the right workspace. I'm not in the right area of service for who I really am. I'm not on my purpose in my work. And you're going to heal that wound starting in February. It may amplify the wound, like you have something terrible happen in the workspace and in February, and then you realize you got to like make a change. But there is that's a thing that's happening in February, but also the eclipses are happening in your Aries 6th house of work. And it's Aries, so it's ruled by Mars. So this is an area of concern for you. So it's part of your wheelhouse. So the eclipses in general, starting, in April, and then another eclipse in Libra, in the fall, another eclipse in Aries in March of 25. The whole story is to get out of the place that's wrong for you in your livelihood. And it's going to make big changes in that. So it can also make you very more successful in your work, of course, but also successful because you're back in alignment with something that you find you would call a meaningful career and work direction, basically. And when you add, like, oh my God, guys, when you add Mars cutting through your 10th house of career starting in November and in and out for 6-7 months after, I can guarantee by the end of 2024, early 25, a good 80%, I think, of Scorpio rising in particular, Sun and next and then Moon, have made a massive change in their career for the better and feel like they have become aligned with their truer purpose. That's a big story for you guys. Look especially to clues about that change in April, because you'll have a Mercury Cazimi there. So April can tell you how this change should show up, but it may take a whole year to unfold. All right, so we're moving into Will's sign, Sagittarius, rising. Yay, Will. He's going to be a powerhouse, guys. You'll know this man's name. We're all going to know you. So I'll tell you why later. So, but with this time that you're in, first of all, you're ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planetary body that rules Sagittarius. And so it's funny, you focus on Jupiter in our conversation at the beginning, and that you need to focus on Jupiter for all Sag risings, and also when we get there, Pisces risings. But Jupiter is making some major changes in the sky for you, for all of you Sagittarius in 2024, and it's really worth noting. He starts the year moving through Taurus, where he's been since last May, and therefore in Taurus, he's going to co-join with the North Node. That is a powerful reset of not only April 21st, right, into early May, but a sense that it's going to change in a positive, exciting, dramatic, exhilarating way, not only health challenges that any Sagittarius may undergo, especially from self-defeating habits and patterns and bad daily routines, but it's also going to change the work that the Sagittarius are doing in this world in a very powerful, positive, and dramatic way, making the work more prosperous, more joyful, and more successful. And so that turning point energy began already last May, but it's when we hit this rare Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus last seen in 1941 that it's all systems go. You can expect a beginning in April of what is a long 14-year narrative of a bigger time of success in your career, but also enjoying your work, enjoying your career, liking what you were doing, and having luck and success in the area of work. Sometimes it can also mean you want to do work that's Jupiterian, that's generous, that's charitable, that's guiding or mentoring or teaching others. It could bring you into alignment with that archetype in the work you do as well. Now, the next thing that's going on here is Jupiter sliding into your 7th house, Gemini. Now, while he's in his detriment in Gemini, meaning he's the guy who has the big picture like go big, oh big, or go home is a Jupiter line, and Mercury is like the 7-step habits of highly successful people with footnotes. There's such differences of energy. So Jupiter does not like being in a place where he's asked to look at the details, but so he's in a problem sign for him. But in your personal life, it just means that you're more likely to have an expansion in significant love stories. So you can meet a new person and be very much in alignment and have a joyful new relationship in long-term love. And you can also, if you're in a relationship that's struggling, Jupiter is the planet of blessed endings, and he could leave you behind in the dust. He could kick that relationship to the curb so somebody new can show up. So you're going to see that both of those possibilities, a blessed ending and a troubled relationship, and or all are possible, a powerful new love relationship beginning as he crosses what we call your descendant. And just to be clear, it's a year-long story that starts the 25th or 6th of May and ends on the 9th or 10th or so, depends on your time zone or whatever, of 2025. So here's a note for you guys. Sag rising, especially Sun and Moon secondarily, in the first like 15 degrees of Sag, have more likelihood of connecting with a new relationship if you're looking for one, or a bad one ending in the last 6 months of 2024, and the first 6 months of 2025 for the Sag people with degrees 15 to 29. Okay. All right. The next big story for you guys. This is a tough one. There's so much going on. I think I would really want to say that Mars rising in your second house of earnings will increase your financial well-being in a very significant way in 2024. Started in January already. It runs all the way through 2-year cycle into 2025. The energy here is for you to be a self-starter, to maybe do your own thing. If you're already employed or you stay employed, that's fine, but you bring more initiative and you bring more of yourself to that job or work. And if you don't want to stay there, you can definitely be an entrepreneur or start your own thing. It's very self-starter energy that's going to rise for 2 years for all Sages. Now, the other energy here would be you may dramatically change your food style. When Mars is rising here, you may completely quit gluten. You may go keto or vegan. It cuts away the food style that you're in, or the vape, the cigarettes, the wine, whatever you drink or put through your mouth can be cut and severed so that something healthy can happen. And if you want facial surgery, laser, dermabrasion, all those things that people do, anything that's grading, lasering, or slicing, Mars moving through the second house of the face, including dental work or veneers and just dental work, can be very successful. So for a lot of Sagittarius, you're going to open up a 2-year window for facial rejuvenation or facial improvement, nose jobs, whatever you want. This is your time. Now, Mars is not like, well, if you inject filler, I guess he could be that because the needle pierces. So we'll include fillers. But for the most part, you're able to change your facial appearance successfully, basically. And so just keep that in mind. And but you're going to make more money, and that's the more exciting part. You're going to be more financially successful through your passion, drive, choices, and actions, and maybe even again starting your own thing. And if you're in a business that you work for a company, you can self-start, and you might find that it takes over your life, and you can quit your day job by the end of 2 years, starting this year. Alrighty, how's that sound, Will? Are you excited?
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm a 2 degree, my rising degree in Sagittarius is 2 degrees. So hopefully I can meet a good partner early on. And
Mm-hmm.
I like everything else. More money, more career prosperity, especially the entrepreneurship is all music to my ears. And
Mm-hmm.
as far as the surgery goes, which we'll get into a little bit later, that's one of the things. So when does this start exactly? Or did it start already?
Well, it started on January 27th and it lasts all the way through until really like September of 25. Then he starts to go invisible again. So, so you want to stay clear of that. So you're good to go then. That whole like window of all this year into, to the fall of 25, things would look good for any kind of surgeries to do the face or the jaw or the teeth. And there's other delineations that we can talk about if you like, but generally, if you had your best timing, anybody is a Sag listening for a facial procedure of some kind, you're going to want to look at Venus. She's a goddess of beauty. So when Venus is moving through Sagittarius, when Venus is moving through Capricorn, you be very, very successful in terms of being pleased with the results. Okay. And so there's only a small amount of time every year where she does move through those. It's in the fall when she does move through Sag and she does move through Capricorn, fall, winter. So those are your most ideal times. In order to see, Mars says you won't die on the surgical table and your surgeon is proficient, but Venus says you'll like the results, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we can talk about the dates, but if anyone Googles Venus and Sagittarius 2024, use Cafe Astrology. It's easy. Cafe Astrology, Venus and Sagittarius 2024, Venus and Capricorn 2024. Those dates are ideal because when you get to 2025 and she's in Sag and she's in Capricorn, Mars is now invisible. So it's a this year story, right? And it's only available then in the Venus and Sag, Venus and Capricorn window of time, which tends to run, somewhere in November, December, on average, right? It doesn't mean, though, you can't do something before then. There are other times that Venus is applying a positive aspect to Sag and to Capricorn, right? So there are other alternatives, but those are the most ideal. All righty, so we move on?
Yeah. Yeah. I was like mentally noting everything you
Yeah,
said.
don't worry because, I can tell you when we sign off the recording, but it's really, there's no bad time with Mars rising in the next, year, add 3/4 for Sagittarius to do facial stuff with surgical procedures or lasers. It's all good, but it's Venus makes the results pleasing to you. And so that's what you really need, right? All right, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. You're ruled by Saturn. That's the Lord of your sign, the boss of you, the god of wisdom, and he holds the reality together for everybody. So the thing about he's sage-like, by the way, he's not just taskmaster and hardship, boundaries and walls. He's got a sage-like disposition like Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that's the Lord of your story. What is Saturn doing that might be important to you is the first thing I'd say, because that's the planet that matters to you the very, very most. Well, he's trundling through your third house since last year and will be there until 2026. And in that regard, it's a slow story. So I will just draw your attention yet again in 24 to what kind of stability you're trying to make in your life regarding stable and lasting, enduring results through writing projects, social media, websites, through travel, through you're stabilizing a sibling relationship, maybe a younger sibling, maybe trying to stabilize results in terms of things to do with your local neighborhood or your neighbors. Those are all third house words. And even your daily life, what do you do on the daily, in and out? Who do you meet on the daily? The supermarket, the stores, the shops. Saturn here is just kind of bringing your attention to making it more solid. But if you want to learn something in 2024, sign up for an educational course. Saturn will help you find the thing that gives you legacy, lasting, enduring results. And that would be like getting a real estate license. These are skills-based learnings, learning to play the guitar, learning to, do something that's very taskish in terms of learning, not like your doctorate in astrophysics, that kind of learning. And let's see, Saturn will square Jupiter this year in August and then later in December, because Jupiter will have moved into your sixth house. And I would expect you're going to have some tension in work this year. And the best way to deal with that work tension, it's like opportunities and work, and they may be clashing with your preferences regarding your travel agenda, your home life. Well, it could be your home life, your neighborhood life, your connection to your daily routines. And it suddenly Jupiter wants to expand your work. So, work opportunities may be at clash with the things you'd like to do in the everyday life of your life, sort of. You might have to travel for work, for example. And if that comes up, it's August and then it's December that these two clashes are occurring. Okay, another narrative for you that's very critical is the eclipses. The eclipses are pushing you through the fourth house to expand the fourth house, where you've had a wound going on since approximately 2019 about your home life. It could be a wound in your home life because you can't afford a home, or you don't like where you live, or you don't feel like you belong in the community or the home that you occupy right now. You could feel homeless inside of yourself. No matter where you live, you don't feel at home in yourself. So this sense of not feeling at home, literally or metaphorically, has been plaguing you. ever since 2019. It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss, Are You My Mother? But the question is, are you my home? You know what I mean? And along comes this year and you're healing it. In February, there's a North Node Chiron conjunction. If in February, around the 19th, out a few days, you have a wound around home, don't worry. It's to make the wound more visible, rip the Band-Aid off, heal that wound. And then the eclipses in Aries say, it's all going to change. We're going to move you from your home, give you a better home, expand your home. We're going to get good things happening from your home that are going to be giving you some of the material rewards in life that you want. You might expect that April 8th eclipse, of course, being a total eclipse in your fourth house at 19 degrees of Aries to be the game changer. And therefore Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising within 5 degrees of 19 Capricorn, especially moon. That'll be about your home for sure. Sun will be home and career matters, and rising sign, home and career and home, everything. So big changes for you guys. That eclipse has enough propulsion to move a lot of you to a new home between April 8th of this year and next spring. So keep that in mind. And then we have Aquarius. I'm one of you. I'm Aquarius. And like Aquarius is our Saturn ruled beings, not Uranus. That's the modern system. And we are also looking at life through the sagacity and the long-term strategies, the long-tail strategies of Saturn. So Saturn is in our earnings house where he'll be this year. He was there last March, all of this year into February of 26. As you were doing last year and will continue to do, you're trying to save more money, be cautious with your spending, to find new structures and forms to create new earnings and money, to stabilize your earnings, to be very serious about your money story. And this is going to serve you because you're ruled by this planet. So you're going to do really well in 24 and into 25 in terms of the money stuff that you're up to, because Saturn's got your back here. And because Neptune is here, he's helping you make your financial gains in terms of alignment with your dreams. And so you're making your dreams come true as you also stabilize and structure your earnings. And it will look really good on you in 24. There's a bit of a square between him and Jupiter in August and December, where you might be at friction, having difficulty with your children and your earnings, a romantic partner in your earnings, your entrepreneurial business and your earnings. These kinds of things can be at odds with each other in August and in December. I mean, a kid wants your money and you're going to give money to your child, grown child, no, not your 6-year-old gets an allowance, but an older child, or your lover's got no money and you have to support them or something like that. So there's this friction about your earning savings strategy and you're really serious about your money. And this need maybe to expenditure out there with a child, a lover, or an object of pleasure that you really wish to purchase as well, leisure and pleasure objects. So there's just that August, December friction. By far the other, I think there's so many stories going on here, but the other big story in your sky this year is this massive explosion of positive change in your home and property part of your sky. Now, it can bring you an inheritance or legacy wealth starting April 21st and add 2 years. 14 years, but certainly April, May, you might have unexpected, inheritance coming through, an unexpected windfall or some chunk of money coming at you. But it connects to home and land and real estate property as well. So unexpected opportunities to purchase a home, to sell a home. Good things are happening here for you in 24. You might see evidence of that at the end of April, third week of April into early May. But it also foretells a 14-year window of time where abundance and prosperity are connected to land, home, and real estate for you, and things you do in and from your home. As an Aquarius, if you don't have a home-based business for prosperity, this may be the beginning of a very fortunate time of your life where you step into doing your prosperity in and from your home. Alrighty, so, and then we move into Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. And you have a Pisces sun, right, Will?
Yeah, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and North Node.
Yes, and Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is beautiful. It's a tough one, eh? Venus exalted in Pisces. You're looking for deep love, true love, big love, holy love, sacred love, good old, Sting, Sacred Love. Go play that song. That's your theme song for love. Anyone with Venus and Pisces. But sometimes, your standards can be so high and you're so hopefully looking for this big love that you are disappointed in life, but it doesn't mean you won't find it. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. It's just that you're not looking for a quick fix here. You're looking for the real deal.
No.
So let's go into what happens for the Pisces this year. Your Jupiter ruled being, not Neptune, that's modern astrology. In ancient tradition, you're Jupiter ruled, and the expansion and growth that you can expect with Jupiter in 2020, because that's what he brings: expansion, luck, prosperity, growth. He also brings children. The expansion, growth, prosperity, and luck and a bounty that you get in 24 is going to be about home and real estate to some degree. He's already starting the year for you guys in your third house and expanding your reach on social media, writing projects, websites, expanding travel opportunities, expanding connections to your local neighborhood, neighbors, younger siblings. And these things are all lucky for you, and your younger siblings can be very lucky during this transit. And that started with Jupiter in your third house, whole sign Taurus third house, last year in May, and he finishes up in the third week of May this year. But then he moves into Gemini, which is your fourth house. So anything you do in and from your home can be extremely prosperous. Anything to do with land, home, and property can be very prosperous between the third week of May 2024 into June of 2025. It's an ideal time to buy a property, sell a property. It sometimes is a signature for an inheritance from a mother or father or somebody up your family line. And that can also show up as bounty that way. So just be aware of that, because it's not bad or good. It just could be a case for some of you. And with Jupiter in your fourth house, anything that has to do with your ancestral line. So when not just mom and dad, but great grandpa Joe or whatever, that line is furthering you in a bounteous way. So I don't know if some of you do ancestral worship, put your ancestors on a mantle or an altar. It's a good time to honor the ancestors, because your ancestors from the third week of May till June of 25, I've got your back, and it's time to ask them for favors, right? They can be like super powered angels on your side during this time. And you don't have to know your ancestors. I know that some people are adopted. You don't have to know your ancestors. Your ancestors are in spirit and they know you. And yes, I am talking about your biological ancestors. And so they know you. So you can petition them without knowing who they are. Now, the other thing is, because Jupiter is the lord of your sky, he's doing a not since 1941 reset in Taurus with Uranus. It's innovation, freedom, change, bounty, and prosperity in your third house. Any Pisces who work as a writer, work online, promote or sell online, who are in those engaged activities, or want to open up a local boutique, shop, restaurant, those areas are all about success for all Pisces people, rising especially. And it can really be a divine golden time for you, the third week of April into May, for that kind of area of your sky to suddenly pounce up with luck. Like, I mean, a Jupiter Uranus conjunction in the third house is a viral hit. You put out something on TikTok and it goes freaking crazy and everyone suddenly knows you. Okay. So keep that in mind. But long game, right? The next 14 years, this is an area of auspicious success. It can indicate lots of travel and success from travel. It can indicate a lot of luck and opportunity as a teacher. You want to teach people things, guide, coach, mentor. You could be that. And you can also be bringing the most important and best teachers to you, starting this April, May, and over the next 14 years. And your siblings are blessed. If you have younger siblings, they get like collateral benefits from this, and they have a lot more goodness in their life, especially the one just under you. And that's about it. Well, we covered everybody, and I think in a nice in-depth way.
We did. Yeah, that was very in-depth, very detailed. And I think it's stuff that they could like prepare for both short-term and long-term, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So I still have a bit of time. I just texted my it's not an appointment. I have to drive somewhere. So did you want to talk about anything we talked about earlier? You mentioned we did talk about the midheaven problem.
Oh yeah, so we should touch upon that. So yeah, where
Yeah.
do we begin? So I gave you my chart, which has like my birth time, my location, all of that. And what you notice when looking at my chart is that you think my midheaven is off because a lot of times in hospitals, they don't write the exact time you're born. There's so much going on. It's typically several minutes after whatever, I mean, prior to whatever they've put. So in my case, according to the chart, I have a Virgo midheaven. You saw it. You said it doesn't make any sense. I more than likely have a Leo 29-degree midheaven, which is a very significant degree point. So you could say,
Absolutely. So I guess the thing about, if you're going to teach people astrology, it's good to just share some small details of, a lot of people will have a 0 degree of a sign MC. Midheaven is about your purpose career. And a lot of people have a 29, and every astrologer who sees that on a chart immediately rectifies the chart by asking questions about a person's life, because this is going to change the whole meaning of one's career, right? The sign and the ruler of the sign. So I know enough about Will when he asked me to be on the show that I watched his podcast, listened to his podcast, checked his Instagram, got a vibe, right? He's no way that his midheaven is in Virgo because the Leo predominates. It's very performative, DJ, a playful, leaderful energy. And it's also on a star. You have the star Regulus there, which is where Donald Trump has his ascendant, and it's born to rule, little king, fame, riches, and glory. I'd rather your midheaven be there because your birth time, we're only changing his time backwards by about 3 minutes, guys. The midheaven moves a degree every 4 minutes. So we moved his midheaven back 3 minutes, not like, so instead of 1040, I moved it back to 1037. And now we see the will I see in the world, right? The visible way you show up. And it's a fascinating thing about the whole idea of the midheaven, because the midheaven isn't just our career. That's a dumbed down version. It's like the vault of heaven where we knock on heaven's ceiling, knocking on heaven's door or whatever. And it's where the plot line of our life is. It's what God wants for us. It's a script of our life. And so, if someone has a midheaven in Virgo, they often aspire to be of service to others, which is wonderful, but they'll find themselves finding this inspiration and elevation, high noon, midheaven is a high noon, in being of service or working in health industries, or being of service, like in a service field, like, an administrative field, a secretarial field, or a nursing field, or something where you're health and service or service. But they don't want to ever be on the center stage. Usually that's not the Virgoian impulse for the most part. And because it's also your sun that rules that Leo part of your sky, as opposed to Mercury, it also can give us indications, every one of us, when we're trying to rectify a chart and share that kind of clarity about what's one's purpose is. I'm just pulling up your chart to remind myself of where is the sun in the whole sign, fourth house. Open subsidiary recently used. There you are. Yeah, so you've got your sun in the fourth house. So what did your okay, so here's what it means. Sun in the fourth house, that's not going to change no matter where I put the midheaven. Indicates a couple of things. It means that you will have a successful purpose and career in the home, from the home. It also can mean that you will be vital and quite physically healthy as into your elder years. But it also means that you might be building a career in this life that's connected to your patrilineal line. Right. And whether we know our patrilineal lineage and what the father and father's line was doing, this indicates there's a connection to the fathers and father's line, patrilineal lineage, in the direction of one's career. Also, in your chart, you have an exalted Venus conjunct that sun. And that indicates, indeed, it's under the beams of that sun, which means that you want to bring into your purpose and career the highest potential of what Venus offers in her exaltation, which is it's spiritual energy. I mean, this is where she elevates beyond just pleasure and beauty and love and romance into a kind of like divine feminine, holy light to the world. Super Soul Sunday, Oprah Winfrey has a Venus conjunct the sun. And it's the same thing. She wants to bring something better to the world than just, the ordinary. So anyway, it's just a really beautiful chart. I wanted to tell people, never trust your 0-degree midheaven or your 29-degree midheaven. You need to get it checked.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It does, because the Virgo midheaven made no sense at all. And then given all the work that I do in my career, like working for a major broadcasting company, doing media, tech operations, writing for a magazine, entertainment editor, having the podcast, which has really become successful on iHeart, Spotify, Amazon, all of that. And prior to that, DJing radio for 8 years. I mean, it makes so much more sense.
Oh, yeah, especially when you said editor. I mean, magazines and publications are both the third house, ninth house axis, and your midheaven is on that axis with your IC in the third house of periodicals and magazines, and your midheaven in the house of book publishing. But things to do with the word editor, publications, publishing, writing, that whole axis is where your midheaven is, not in the 10-4, but in the 3-9. So yeah, that does fit from what I'm seeing in your chart. And it's just a good life lesson for astrology people. And I would like to also mention, just so people end this podcast understanding, I'm using whole sign houses, the ancient house system, recovered, in the 1990s with Project Hindsight. You can use your Placidus, but it's going to be skewed by latitude, right? So I'm encouraging you to consider going online using astro.com or astroseek. They both have an option to cast your chart in whole sign houses and trying it out, because it'll make your life a lot easier. And you'll see when I do these delineations how, if you're going to get confused with the Placidus, you're going to say, no, you just said, like, Jupiter is moving through my fifth house, but he's moving through my sixth house. No, you're looking at you'd be looking at Placidus. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at the sky from the wrong lens. That's all.
This has been like jam packed.
It has been.
I know we want to get into like some personal stuff, so I want to save a tiny bit of time for that.
Mhm.
But I'd love to have you back on because I still have so many more questions.
I know. I
Um,
know. We didn't get as far along as we wanted. Did you want to talk personal on the podcast, or you want to hang up and talk personal, so to speak?
um, well, I could just cut the personal out. So I will keep.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I mean, generally, if you want to have a surgery, or anybody who's Sag rising, it is good to go between now and next September, with a highlight on the fall of this year, while Venus transits Sagittarius and transits Capricorn. Good for recovery, good for good results, good for everything working out.
Noted, and everyone
That's
should.
a 6-week window. It's like going to be like a November, December window.
Which that's good to know because I'll probably be moving what I had planned for that.
Ah, okay, good for you. Well, yeah, you're moving. Well, that's good. That works with sextile from Jupiter in your sixth house now, and then squaring from your seventh. So
I
you
don't know
could,
about moving. I was gonna move the surgery to that time
oh,
frame.
move the surgery. I think you meant moving. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, hey, I mean, there's some other positive times too. So a couple of thoughts for you. I mean, when Venus transits Pisces, she's exalted and she flows to the second house of the face. So that's another opportunity during her spring transit coming up soon. That'll be like in March. So this March could be auspicious for anyone who's a Sag having surgery. And the next best one would be when she's in Taurus, which is going to be traveling through Taurus, usually around May. Again, you can just Google on Cafe Astrology, Venus transits, different signs, and you'll get the exact dates. So, yeah, March and May are also positive. So March, May, November, December are my favorites.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Mhm.
Before we start the personal side convo, is there anything that you would like to cover, give out, let people know, etc.?
Oh, about myself and what I do?
Yeah, like or
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
that you want
yeah.
to touch on or
Okay,
any.
well, yeah, sure. Like, I mean, it'd be great if you guys wanted to find me at Lunatic Astrology on YouTube, because that's where I'm growing my community. But I also have a Patreon community, and it's Patreon/Lunatic Astrology. And that's where I teach a lot and do stuff in private, in smaller groups, Zoom groups with people. But my Patreon community is also, they get all the content from YouTube, early access, ad free. And then we do various group meetings together there. So that's more intimate connection with me. And also when I'm booked up like all the way through to July, so I've closed my calendar. And to get on a reading list with me, my Patreon community gets the first chance, then former clients, and then the general public. So if people want to see me, sometimes the shortcut is to get into my Patreon community. And then the other thing is that I teach astrology, a lot of classes. There's tons of them on my website, lunaticastrology.com. But my favorite one is my Sky Reader. The tagline is "Be your own astrologer, time your best life." And that class I've taught 4 times, and this will be my 5th time in April. And it's a 6-week class that introduces you to the basics of astrology with enough information to use some predictive tools yourself. So that if anyone wants to learn to, instead of me handing you a fish, you know, you can learn how to fish. That's what I try to do in 6 weeks with my students. But if you've never seen an astrology chart, never looked at a planet in a sky, and it's probably people who already have had a dive into astrology, you know, they know what their chart looks like. They have the basics like a rising sign, sun and moon in their mind. That's probably the place where you're starting this. If you've never looked at astrology before and you jump into Sky Reader, I probably would not advise it because, you know, you might get overwhelmed with the information and the knowledge.
I love it. So much going on, and everyone should definitely check you out, book a reading, and stay up to date with all your YouTube videos because you always do one when I see when Venus changes signs with the new moon, full moon, eclipses, everything.
Oh
So
gosh, I've got one coming out every 3 days, basically. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's my favorite thing. And we need to have you back on because I do the second half of the year, everything's going retrograde, and that's what happened in 2023. I would like to discuss that. And dispel some retrograde stuff and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah,
So,
well, the retrograde season is halfway through the year, so have me on. We'll talk about what it means because it's not always like a bad thing. You know, you said should people get married when Venus retrograde? Well, not really.
or actually, also I engaged. Because
Engaged is fine, I think, but getting married when she's retrograde is baking in the wedding date with a Venus that's going to change directions, and she's the Lord of love, right? And that means that the direction of the relationship, which seems so happy on your wedding day, could go downhill. But more importantly, is when Venus is invisible. Do not get married when Venus is invisible. That's even more important than retrograde. A retrograde Venus can make your relationship more soulful. And if you got married on a retrograde Venus, you might have a very deep, more soulful, introspective relationship. But or less social and more at home watching Netflix or something, more less social and more introspective. But I'll say that an invisible Venus, which happens every year for about 2 or 3 months, is not a good time to get married. That's for sure. So being aware of her visibility status in any given time frame is important if you want to have a sort of a solid energy around the wedding. See, in astrology, it's really about the wedding, right? You want to bake in like clay tablet. You want to bake in positive energies that stay with the marriage because the date something happens, like you get on that airplane, you're baking in the rest of the trip. It's from the time you sit on that seat, the time you get married, the day and month, that bakes in a kind of signature that falls throughout the entire marriage. I think I accidentally got married to my second husband when Venus was invisible, and it did not go well. Yeah.
wow, that's important to know. It's more, I knew someone that just some idiot at the gym who had told me that they got engaged in August, and it was that time period when Venus was retrograde and almost every planet was retrograde, and there were
Oh my
the bad
God.
aspects. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, good luck.
Oh, and Venus was invisible too in the summer. She was, yeah, when she was retrograding in Leo, that was a big deal for the world. A lot of big famous couples broke up. It was disastrous.
Right around that
Yeah.
time period, yeah.
Yeah, but also because she was close to the sun, she was invisible for much of it. And again, so it was a hot mess. Not a good time to start dating someone new. You're baked in a hot mess of retrogrades and invisibility and everything else.
Wow. So people need to know that because they're setting up their future if they do it during a bad time.
Yeah, yeah, you're just baking in the good or the bad, you know. So sometimes it's good to know what to avoid, basically. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, Lori and I are going to talk about some stuff privately. Thank you for joining us. Definitely check her out, book a reading, follow her on YouTube, stay up to date, and hopefully you'll be coming back later in the year to discuss some more Astrology 411.
I am so looking forward to Will. I had a lot of fun with you, and we have a great synastry chart together. So that's why when I looked at your chart, I was like, this morning, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a fun time together. So I'm really grateful you had me on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome.